city of Philadelphia, as has been said, and we have some great co-ops that function in the Philadelphia community. But someone said, well, you came over from Philadelphia. I actually was in San Diego yesterday with 30,000 neuroscientists. And I kind of read on that, and I got into D.C. early this morning. So, but I wanted to make sure that I got here in time to address your conference. I know you'll be here through Thursday, but I wanted to let you know that we are moving full steam ahead and trying to focus the Congress on the work that you are doing and you've been doing for decades upon decades. There are tens of thousands of cooperative businesses in our country, some 29,000 in total, $1 trillion in assets, and that you employ so many people. And I visited with co-ops, and I visited a co-op operated supermarket in New Haven a few years ago when we were working on the development of this bill, and I visited a very interesting healthcare co-op in New York that I was fascinated by. But I've also been a member and have enjoyed the benefits of co-ops in Philadelphia as me and my family have went about our activities on the home front. But I come to this honestly. I think that it's critically important, if we say that we're concerned about building our economy, that we don't leave out this very important business model. This is a model that can deliver services and goods to communities that are underserved. It's done that in rural communities, it's done it in urban communities, it's done it through a span of products and services from food to healthcare. I was reading up on this very interesting real estate co-op out in Nevada where non-competing businesses got together to own their own real estate and decided to literally do what you know works. Did I get an amen? All right, so I think that the Small Business Administration, all of our instruments that help businesses produce organized capital for business formation and for working capital should work with co-ops in the same way that they work with other businesses. And that I think that, I also think it's important for co-ops to work one with another too. So, we have credit unions that need to find a way to understand that, how co-ops function. But I think this is an area in which we can provide economic growth that in a very American way, that is people working together with similar interests, through having a stake through their membership, and a commitment that sometimes even involves their own work equity, like some of the food co-ops that operate in my community. So I've introduced legislation, but we've also taken it upon ourselves in the appropriations process to move this process along. I've had the Commerce Department take a long look at the procedures and regulations that attach to all of our business support programs, whether it be the Small Business Administration or the Minority Business Development Agency or any of the other activities that the government is engaged in. So we have legislation, we have builder support for it, but there are also unfortunate circumstances that come even from, just when you're sitting back. We had this incident with the rural co-op effort where the administration, the Obama administration wanted to roll out that program and add it in with all the other economic assistance programs. And we thought that was the wrong way to go. Because even though I don't represent a rural community, I know of the great work that's been done. And we don't want to limit the already limited sources of resources for costs. We're trying to add to the pool. So, and we worked against that and spoke against it. So, You know, you probably have benefited from the fact that I'm a little jet lagged. I'm not going to give it an hour and a half for all the address I was going to give. I even told my staff to stay at work, and I would find my way over here on my own. You know, which they get nervous about, you know. Congress wandering around, you know. It's amazing with these young staffers. They are very energetic, very smart. And I had a young lawyer on my staff, Britton Cheney's doing all of the real work on our efforts to try to boost this sector of our economy. And we're going to continue to do this work. And we're going to work hand in hand with you as we go forward. So, you know, I'm not someone who's out chasing a lot of votes. I got more votes than anyone else in the country did in the last election. I'm really just trying to get a few things done. I think helping co-ops emerge as a very significant way to deal with some of the income inequalities and access to resources and goods. A lot of these communities have been just greenlined, in which there aren't any services. It's not like the co-op is competing. We just had, I told you about the supermarket I went to visit in New Haven, which they had not had a supermarket there for a long time, called Chester, PA, which is right outside of Philadelphia. It's not in my district, but it just opened up a brand new supermarket, and it's a co-op. It's a nonprofit operation that, because it couldn't get any of the food chains to come to what is a very, you know, poor community. However, people have to eat. And, you know, we have to find a way within our economy to accommodate all of these circumstances. And the most nimble of the forms of businesses that can be created, I think, are co-ops, because it engages local communities, it engages people in which they have a stake in the game and they are part and parcel of it, and it's organized around what the real needs are, and everyone benefits. So I don't think it gets better than that. So I want to wish you well, and I want you to know that I'm going to be in this town for a while to come, and I've passed major legislation in the Congress on a whole range of issues, and we're going to pass into law a groundbreaking piece of legislation that's going to provide the wherewithal to grow this movement in every part of our country, and to the benefit. I know you've been working even internationally to share this with others, but to the benefit of our citizens, so that they can have quality goods at a reasonable price, quality services that they can depend on, and they can, in part, do it for themselves. Thank you very much. I'm going to take a couple questions, and then I got to go.
I know you had a question for us about taxi cabs in Philadelphia, and I wanted Bob to kind of talk about what that work that was going on.
So my taxi cab operators in Philadelphia, they got in touch with us, and they said, look, we want to build a co-op in which we can develop our own dispatching system, and we can own it, you know.
Ron Blunt will be here tomorrow. He'll be one of the speakers.
I know Ron Blunt. He's the guy.
Yeah. Well, you're his guy too. So.
That's why I got more votes than anyone in the country.
No, those cab drivers can get the votes out.
There you go.
Yeah. So I know the days of the earmarks are long gone, but we appreciate any type of local help that you do for the taxi drivers. And
we're going to find a way to help, because I think it's an ingenious notion, but it just shows you how the co-ops, and I mentioned, because I've traveled around to look at different models, right? And this business model can be used in a lot of different ways, and this is just another creative way that empowers people, because rather than have someone else dispatching them, they can be dispatching themselves and own, own their own work. So I think it's great. This young man in the back has got a question.
Congressman, thank you for your comments, and certainly the citizens of Cooperative in Philadelphia are lucky to have you as their representative. For us to be successful on a bigger scale, we need to find you some friends and some votes for in committees, and certainly your role as a ranking member helps. How would you encourage us to be talking with your colleagues in Congress about advancing this agenda? What counsel, and particularly with those who don't necessarily sit on your side of the aisle at the moment?
Well, I think that the first thing is that there are co-ops, as best as I can tell, in almost every county in the country. There's nothing partisan about the co-op movement, and you shouldn't in any way embrace anybody's notion that it's partisan. This is about empowering American communities to uplift themselves economically. And we've seen it work in rural areas. We've seen it work in urban areas, but on a more limited scale. But I think that to answer your question directly is that you have to listen to the political rhetoric in town, right? So the rhetoric at the moment is fairness, right? And fairness is a big key buzzword, right? So the argument, for instance, in terms that I'm making is that in terms of our economic development strategy, we should be fair. That is that we need to give co-ops the same level of opportunity to benefit. It shouldn't be a mystery about how to get through the SBA program or how to go through some of these other economic development and assistance programs for co-ops. And that we need to work so that we can be fair in this process in communities that have been greenlined. So, if there's no supermarket, right, you're not competing against, some big gigantic chain that just couldn't wait, there's been, when I was in New Haven, it was amazing, right, because first of all, there hadn't been a supermarket there in like 14 years. But moreover, not only did they go after all of the chains, they went after all of the chains, so they couldn't get any of them to come. So they decided that the only way we could do this was to build a cooperative business. They got hundreds of people to sign up as members, families. They put in some ingenious energy efficiency, because supermarkets use a lot of energy. You got to keep stuff cold, it needs to be cold, you got to do it. So they got a fuel cell that provided all of the air conditioning and other energy needs of the supermarket, right? Which was just ingenious. And now you got the big change, like Whole Foods is now in the fuel cell business, but it really started with this co-op looking at ways to better utilize the limited resources they had. So, I think that, what I would say is that a lot of members will be supportive. They need to understand that it's in their interest, that there are co-ops in their states, in their districts, because members are, sometimes they can be parochial, and so that they need to hear from their constituents back home that they want to see support. And if not for the bill I've introduced, this is a marketplace of ideas. We would love to have 4 or 5 or 6 different proposals about what we can do to help boost co-ops. So if they don't want to sign on to mine, they can introduce their own. But what we want to do is have this be front and center as it is not even now. Co-ops have been around forever, right? So, this is just building on something that's successful, that's evidence-based, and that creates a level playing field in communities where people who right now don't have access to quality goods and services can have access. Last question, and I got to go to work. Well, come on, answer, joke, something. All right, thank you all very much.